the speed of construction and the efficiency of construction. Construction innovation is one of a forefront issue in real estate these days. The market's been slow right now, but in general, we've had a hard time keeping up with the demand of housing for several years, and I expect that to happen for several years in the future. Well, in our Realty Hack Summit that we had in January, we had two CEOs that are pioneering some innovative techniques. We have the COO of Icon Builders that's doing 3D printing, and I have the CEO of Brody Builders who does prefab homes, mainly luxury homes that's built much faster. And both these guys build homes much faster than in the normal timeline. So I'm going to introduce these guys and show you our video from the Realty Hack Summit in January. But first, just real quick, I want to thank our sponsors, Capital Title and Blended Sense. And by the way, Blended Sense did all the video for the Realty Hack Summit. So thanks again to them, and let me know in the comment section what you think about what these guys are saying.
So I'm really excited about this panel. This is about innovative construction, which I think is a very important topic for a variety of reasons. Let me introduce my panelists. Graeme Waitzkin with Icon Builders and Don Fry with Brody Builders. And what we're talking about are what are not your commonly built homes that these guys work on, and I think that's pretty important. I don't know if you guys ever have anyone come from out of the country and talk about how shitty our construction is here in the U.S., but they have innovated the building space. So if you could, start with Graeme, tell us about what you do and how it's different, obviously.
Sure. Hi, Graeme Waitzkin, Chief Operating Officer at Icon. Austin audience, so bet y'all are pretty familiar with what we do, but 3D printed construction technology. We're a construction technology company first and a builder after that. We work across the industry, so we work with bigger builders like Lennar. We do some of our own construction projects. We have projects going right now in Wimberley, out in Marfa in West Texas, and some coming online in Central Austin. We also do a lot of social affordable housing, so we're currently underway building 100 new homes for the homeless out at Community First Village in East Austin. And we also have a whole R&D group where we're figuring out construction for the U.S. military, as well as how to help NASA build off-world structures on the moon and eventually Mars. We're based in South Austin. We completely vertically integrated, so we design and manufacture our own construction scale, large format 3D printers. We design and batch our own low carbon 3D printing material that we call Carbon X, and we develop all of our own software and architecture for home design. And we've been going strong now for about 7 years here in Austin.
Awesome. Don?
Yep. So, So Don Fry with Brody Builders. Kind of just my background. Moved to Austin in 2000. Once I graduated college, got into real estate development here in Austin, and really started around 2008. I started buying my first properties to tear down old houses and build new ones. And at that time, everybody was kind of moving to the suburbs. My wife and I decided that we wanted to stay closer to town. So we started looking at, just interior core areas of town, and we ended up finding Bowling Creek. And again, this was 2008. The market was totally different back then. So 2008, we bought a couple lots. We raised some money, bought a couple lots in Bowling Creek for like $120,000 a pop. It was crazy. I mean, but nobody was there. I mean, it was just like no man's land. And so it was a really cool, interesting time in Austin where there was a lot of movement where younger people were wanting to stay downtown. I started to see a bunch of some really cool architects coming up. Michael Shue, Alter Studio, Burton Baldrige. These are really kind of fancy, cool, modern architects. They were just getting started. and kind of seeing them do some really, really kind of neat design houses. And, it just occurred to me, well, why can't we build a smaller one and put it on these downtown lots? And I think people will start buying it. Well, they did. It was great. We were kind of just ahead of that curve where everybody shifted to wanting to be closer to downtown. During that time, I remember I was able to buy a lot, build the house, start the house, and finish it 90 days flat. Have it on the market 90 days flat, no problem. Fast forward 2 years later, that house has taken me a year and a half. Same exact house taking a year and a half, costing me, 200.
Why was that?
It was just the market got hotter. So the market got hotter at 2008. I would call a trade and tell them to be there on Thursday. They'd be there on Wednesday, because everybody was looking for work at the time. So the problem is that being a real estate developer, you're trying to get these things built and turn them, as fast as you can. And obviously, seeing that I could build it in 90 days and then having to, do the same thing in a year and a half, it was like, I know it can be done. It's just, this is crazy. It's taking too long. So it was probably 2 or 3 years just looking for a solution. Like, all right, I've got to change this. This doesn't work. And that's how I kind of fell into or figured out, okay, modular, it's manufacturing. And being vertically integrated, having, all of my guys in-house, being able to control all my guys, being in an enclosed environment, and be able to just crank these houses out faster. So started my first factory in 2016. And that one, I got it certified specifically for hurricane homes. So they were hurricane resistant homes. They were really cool, modern, and they could resist, I think it was like 210 mile an hour winds. So I was shipping them down to Port Aransas, where I held them for rentals for a little while. And then in 2021, I started up a new factory here in East Austin, close to the airport. And that one was just more scaling up and then really kind of integrating this new technology that you're hearing now, AI, not so much robotics, but getting ready for the robotics. And really was bringing construction guys into a manufacturing setting and then teaching them how to input data. Data is like the key thing with all this digital infrastructure. And did that for about two years, sold that last factory, and then working on a new factory where it's an even more evolved.
Yeah, if I could put a little bit of context here, I actually toured his last factory. And so when we're talking, I think, a lot of times when you think modular manufactured, you think, mobile home, right? He was building he built some of the most beautiful, these are not necessarily cheaper at all. It's just done more efficiently and faster, right? And his factory was, bigger, about twice the size of this room, where they're actually building the rooms in there. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Graeme, tell us about your process of like, when you start, what's the speed of which you can build that?
Yeah. So you see these kind of different approaches to bringing automation to construction, right? And one is like a factory build approach, and the other is on-site built approach. So ours leans more to on-site. So we build the printers in a factory, but then we ship the printers and ship the material to the construction site. So we'll operate there in the field and go ahead and print a home. We'll end up with the same thing. Like, we can turn a smaller home in 60 days, kind of a mid-market home in 90 days, and a larger home in 120 days, which is still pretty fast compared to industry. But I think you just see different types of automation technology just bring different things for the kind of end user or the end housing product.
Yeah, and we've been doing the same thing for so long. It's nice to have something different. Talk to me about, specifically in Austin, but also outside of Austin, how are the municipalities reacted, and what's that challenge been like to, you're bringing something fairly new, certainly with 3D printing homes, but you as well, Don.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So something, this is a constant conversation that I have, especially with realtors or people interested in buying a modular home. It's like, does it meet code? How do I get it permitted? So just the framework of how it works, the whole nation follows an international residential code. There's a book, it's a big book, and we all follow this same code of exactly how we're supposed to build these houses. It's down to the very small detail. So when you get to a modular home, which is different than what you find a trailer home, or we call a HUD home, a modular home is built to the exact same standards as you would a site-built home. So we follow the exact same codes, use the exact same materials. We're just not building it there. We're building it in a factory where we control everything. So the difference is which is kind of cool, and it's a bonus, is that when I get my permits, I go through the state level. I get all my certifications at the state level. So it overrides all the municipalities. And so I get a stamp from the state for each house. They give me the permit stamp. And surprisingly enough, I've done it in multiple cities. The cities have not given me any kickback whatsoever. They see the stamp, they're like, oh, cool, you're good to go. They do look at make sure you're respecting the setbacks. And then you do have to follow deed restrictions. If it's got to be 30% rock or a metal roof or things like that, yes, we do follow that. But other than that, it's IRC code, and it's built and it's permitted the same way. And the same thing goes for financing. You get same type of financing you would a normal house. Insurance is exact same way. And again, the industry knows what it is, and it's well known within the regulation community. Okay, this is how it works. And again, there's just been no problems.
Yeah, I would say with 3D printed housing, we've had to kind of blaze a bit more of a trail on the regulatory side. I mean, it's one of the benefits for us being founded initially with venture capital financing is we're able, from the beginning of our company, to invest pretty heavily in third-party testing, regulatory, because we kind of had to define a lot of it. Like, we put people on the International Code Council, authoring committees. And so it's helpful when we walk into a municipality, we actually know the codes really well because we've helped write them. But we do have to establish effectively new standards for permitting, inspections, with the things that Don is doing. There's kind of a well-trodden path. This is what you do. This is how you get your factory certified. This is how you go get your permits. For us, we've had to go through a process with local municipalities where we're saying, okay, I know you're accustomed to sending out an inspector here, and here during construction. How about you don't do that? How about instead we take photographs every step of the way, and then we'll effectively create a file that you can access anytime you want and ensure that we're doing everything. So it's actually, you see, there's a way a lot of the permitting authorities and things tend to work in Europe, for example, where it's increasingly digital. We're just kind of pushing our local municipalities into working that way, which honestly they've been pretty receptive to. Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about safety. I mean, obviously, you look at what's happened in California, which is crazy. And I think, gosh, were we talking about this at Inman last summer?
Maybe.
I mean, I think, it's so funny. I don't know if you guys were at Inman at summer, but we was talking about wildfires and earthquakes.
Yeah.
And we had the biggest fire, I think, destroyed more buildings than anything. I mean, was your product that would have saved a lot of homes, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a interesting time in the sense of we can build in, whether it's in manufactured housing and certainly in 3D printing, because we operate with concrete, you can naturally build in more resiliency at a more affordable price than if you're trying to do it in the field. Right. Just because you get that repetition, you can get that volume, and you can quality control your building envelope. But yeah, we were talking about some of these things last summer, and I just think since that time, right, last summer when we were talking about that, Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene on the East Coast, and then more recently the fires in LA. We're seeing just people having resiliency of their home design being more top of mind for buyers. not just in those, maybe whether it's hurricane prone regions or naturally fire prone regions. I mean, we're starting to see information that Texas and Texas Hill Country, is kind of a potential for.
It's the number 2 state that's in danger, that they rated it like the number 2 state in danger of wildfires.
Right.
Look at Austin. I mean, we got trees all around us.
Yeah,
It's just,
fast drop, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep. So these things, particularly for our region, that are kind of a little bit like, well, that's somebody else's issue. I think a lot of that's hitting home right now. Particularly, just we're seeing and homeowners and builders are seeing what those, like how those markets are being so drastically impacted by weather events.
Yeah. Don, what about you? What do you think about when you think of, building more protected homes?
Yeah, I mean, like Graeme said, I mean, you start getting repetition into what you're building, right? So you have to think of this, I always say, just think of it like a car factory. So the first factory we had, we were certified for these windstorm related houses. It just made sense for us to keep it that way. When we were building houses in Austin, we were building them the exact same way. It was just too much of a pain to try to chain the guys. Okay, well, don't put that strap there. You don't have to put it here. It was just build it to a windstorm code. And I think that's what you'll start to see a lot more of, is just like, it just makes sense. Yes, maybe the code in Austin doesn't require windstorm or fire, but the market's demanding it, right? And so we just automatically build those, that safety to each of those houses.
And so talk to me a little bit about scalability, because I see both of these models have enormous potential to scale. I mean, Don, if you can build one factory and you're cranking them out, you can, build another one. And do you think about that and like where your reach would be in Texas?
Sure. I mean, Graeme could tell you, you could basically scale this across the country. I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. In regards to, we can just have one massive factory here in Austin, just like Tesla does, and ship them out, or you can start building little micro factories, they call it, around the country. And, there's trade-offs for both of them. I think it's really exciting time, guys. I mean, I think that if you guys are paying attention to just kind of like this ChatGPT and this DeepSeek and, the Chinese companies kind of undercutting ChatGPT, there's a convergence of a lot of technologies. Everybody's kind of focused on this AI, but you have companies like Graeme who are really getting good at the robotics. And then you have a company like mine who's getting really good at the AI. And then there's, various other technologies that, yes, they have their own vertical, but when you link them together, it's going to happen really, really fast. I mean, it's already happening really fast, where you'll just start to see the cost of construction will go down significantly. I mean, fraction of the cost of what we're doing now, and you'll get it in a fraction of the time. It's almost, maybe it's overspeaking to say it's like Amazon delivery, but it's going to be pretty damn close, where you're going to be like, all right, why are we going to live in this old house? Just knock this thing down, press the button, it'll be here in 2 weeks, put it in, we got a new house. And you see that in Japan. Japan, it's a really kind of it's a very extreme version, but they have a very developed modular or automation type of a housing system there, where Toyota and Honda are the biggest home builders in Japan. And they have a culture where they don't like living in old houses. So it's interesting. If you look at that nation, the land, all the values in the land, the house depreciates almost immediately. And because they're always just changing them out, because you can get a new one so quick. And that's why you kind of, if you look at Japan, the houses in Japan, they're really, really cool, because you're not worried about what the next guy thinks. You're building exactly how you'd like it. So I think, again, like Graeme said, we're approaching this from different angles, but there's a convergence here it's happening in real time, where, and again, various other technologies, where you, as realtors, and just us as a general public, we're going to start to see just a lot more options, a lot more affordability as far as the building, and just a quicker time.
And so Graeme, I think when we talked in the last week or whenever it was, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that what you guys have done with the building of the homes was more like proof of concept and what you're going to be doing. I mean, obviously you're going to be building homes from scratch, but you want to move more into being a partner with builders as well, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think the interesting thing is, I think what's throttling from a lot of these technologies from really taking off is actually not the technology itself. It's the rate of market growth, and it is labor availability on the market today. That's what's throttling these technologies, is mostly the market. I think if we were in a hot market like we were 3 years ago, probably both of our technologies would be scaling even faster than they are today. I look at a 3D printer. The current one we make is the Vulcan. It's a gantry style 3D printer, like your kid's 3D printer on their desk, just enormous. That printer we can make in our factory in Austin. If we really want to crank that factory, we could make one a week, right? So 50 printers a year, and each printer can print 50 homes a year, right? So you think about that, you get a certain amount of volume. We're moving to a new print suite, which is the Phoenix printer, which is a crane-based printer where we can make thousands a year. And so now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, if you can make printers in that capacity and the market picks back up again, you could really, I mean, those printers could effectively be like the largest home builder in the country or in the world, like overnight.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, is what is really needed to unlock a lot of these technologies is for the housing market to open up a little bit again.
Get hotter.
Yeah.
Well,
and then you'll start to see as well. I mean, I guarantee you in LA right now, they're looking for guys like us.
Yeah.
Right? They need houses now. And so you see that in Florida, you're seeing it in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're going to start, it's going to go across the country, and that's, it sucks. But on the other end of it, this is where the technology really gets adopted because there's really no other option. And then people get used to it, and then it just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think it's super cool what both you guys are doing. And, I think it's just really nice that that's happening here in Austin. And so, well, thank you guys for your time. And, so where can people find you guys?
iconbuild.com.
Yeah, BrodieBuilders.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep.